Hello, I'm Helen Cummins. I'm here today with Juanita from Lionsgate Capital. Juanita, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you for having me.
You've been a long time in the financial services industry. Tell us a little bit about your career.
Well, I worked as a bank manager, let's say, for over 10 years in the Spanish banking sector. And during that time, specialized, let's say, in the mortgages for high net worth clients, non-resident clients mainly that were buying on the islands. So in 2015, decided to leave the bank and start Lionsgate Capital with the aim of setting up a mortgage brokerage company specialized in high net worth individuals, where we can help them from beginning to end to really source, let's say, the best financing options for them to optimize their investments, and help them with the process from the beginning right up through to completion.
And you've been very successful since you started, no?
Yes.
This is one of your best years ever, I believe. So there's the upper end of the market, the
Yes.
property market in Mallorca is absolutely booming, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and obviously many of these clients are choosing to use your service.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. We work very hard, but luckily, this year's been absolutely incredible. So we help all clients, all different, let's say, property prices or purchase. But we do specialize mainly in, let's say, 1 million up to 25 million euros per property. I'd say 85-90% of our clients have the funds, but they do wish to mortgage for all the right reasons.
Okay, that brings me to the question that you actually advise people who have the cash, let's say, to buy, there would be better off to mortgage. Can you tell us a little bit about why you recommend that?
Of course. So, in Spain, the banking system or mortgaging, let's say, for a property purchase is very different to other countries. Whereas clients come here and they might think that they can buy property cash and then do an equity release a few years down the line or all of these things in Spain, it's not really possible. So the mortgage has to be in place at the time of purchase. In addition to that, when the clients, if they buy a property cash or with their own funds, many times, depending on the value of the property, they're liable to pay wealth tax, and wealth tax in Mallorca can be very, very high. So mortgages are deductible for wealth tax purposes, inheritance tax, and then as well as that, interest rates are so low nowadays, money's so cheap to borrow, it really makes sense to borrow as much as possible, continue to invest in other areas where you can obtain a higher return on investment, maintain liquidity, and make the most of the tax deductions. So in the end, it's all about the mathematics and how we can best help clients to optimize their property purchase.
Can you tell us a little bit about the criteria for getting a mortgage here? Because it's quite different also than in Northern Europe.
Yes. So the banks, there is a maximum loan to value. So for Spanish tax residents, it would be around 80%. For non-residents, it would be between 60 and 70%. And it's always on the lower of the two values between the purchase price of the property and the valuation. Then the banks also obviously have to study the client's personal circumstances, income, the companies that they own or run. So there's several different factors to be taken into account. But I think the most important thing is that in other countries, you can change your mortgage, you can remortgage, you can mortgage after the purchase, you can change every 2, 3 or 5 years. So in Spain, the banks, unfortunately, are not that flexible. So generally, the clients that buy a property and have a mortgage will probably stick with that mortgage for the full 5, 10, 15, 20 years or however long they own the property. So it's really, really important to really have the best mortgage in place at the time, and then can relax and forget about it afterwards. So
okay, Brexit is a big topic obviously since January 2020. So we see still that the British market, they're very interested still in buying properties here in Mallorca. And the question is, are they treated differently now when they're thinking of buying a property here and they need a mortgage?
Okay. The banks, they do feel more, let's say, comfortable lending to Europeans or people from the US or Canada or some other countries. But the most important thing for the banks is the client's income, let's say what they do, how they generate their income. And the banks want to ensure that they can comfortably, obviously, repay the mortgage. In addition, with the new mortgage law, let's say, that since 2019, the clients do have the option to change the mortgage from euro mortgage at a later stage to the currency that they earn their income in at the time of application. So because of this, the banks, they prefer to lend to clients that earn in the main currencies, sterling, euro, dollars, Swiss francs, and so forth, because they don't want to risk lending to clients that earn in currencies where, have more volatility, and it could be risky for the banks at a later stage.
So just to clarify, for people, British people planning to buy in Mallorca, they are more or less treated the same as other, let's say, they would have been previously, let's say. There's no major change.
No. There was a change when Brexit, obviously initially when Brexit happened, and the banks did sort of tighten down the criteria. Now it all depends on the bank. Every bank is different. So we're working with over 30 banks, and all the banks are different. So some banks are more comfortable, let's say, lending a high loan to value, take into account more income. Other banks will apply tighter criteria. So it really depends on finding which is the best bank for that client at that particular time.
What tips would you give people planning to buy here in Mallorca?
I would say definitely speak to good professionals that can really help and give all the information prior to making the decision.
Yeah, I think the earlier they speak to you, the better. Because
absolutely.
You mentioned about if maybe people can borrow more than what they anticipated and therefore can afford a property for a higher value, and
correct.
All of these kind of things people can find out before they start.
Yes, we have clients come to us at all stages. So we have clients that come to us when they've already found a property, clients when they're just starting to look, because they obviously want to understand what their possibilities are and what the best options are for them. So we really do, give them a lot of information and insight into purchasing a property in Mallorca. And it's very important that they have all the information, because a lot of times they think that, in Spain, things do work the same as in other countries, and it's not the case.
There's many surprises, let's say.
So I think it's very important to understand the Spanish tax system, because when you have a property, you will be paying tax on the property in Spain and not in your country, let's say, of tax residence. Plus the advantages of financing, regardless, whether they have the cash or not. And to just really ensure that, a property is a big investment, and it's very important to invest intelligently and make the right decisions.
Yes, so I guess that's one of the benefits of being a client of Lionsgate. So that's what I wanted to finish up asking you about. Why would somebody use your services versus going directly to their own bank?
That's a really good question. So I think, all the banks are different, like we said. There's not one bank that is the best bank for all clients. And plus the banks are continuously changing their terms and conditions throughout the year. So, which bank is the best bank for each client? It depends on many factors. On the property itself, do they want to buy a finished build? Do they want to build a home? Who's buying? If it's a person, if they want to buy via company, how they want to structure the purchase, all their financials. So understanding who the client, all the financials behind them. And then most importantly, what are the client's preferences and priorities? And let's say based on these pieces of the puzzle, we work a little bit the other way around. So whereas a client might go to a bank directly and then have to wait for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 2 months without knowing if that's going to be the best bank, or maybe even that time goes by and they don't obtain a positive result. We do it the other way around. So the clients come to us, we understand who the clients are, we analyze everything, we actually pre-underwrite the mortgages in-house, we write the reports for the banks, and then we decide which banks to go to, whether it's a bank in Spain, whether it's a bank in another jurisdiction, whether we want to do just a mortgage. We can also do combination mortgages with the property and with assets. So we really do offer personalized service where we save the client's time, effort, money, and where they are guaranteed they're going to get the best result for them for that particular purchase.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Juanita, for being with us here today. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm here today with Juanita from Lionsgate Capital. If you would like to know more about mortgaging in Mallorca, a property, then please contact Lionsgate Capital. Juanita would be delighted to help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen.